This happens to be the first meeting after the inaugural for this KMA year. I personally welcome all of you. Of course, the formal welcome will be done by Mr. Varghese. And I would say that, we're just starting off right now with the first program. So let's all rise up for a silent prayer. Now I request our Senior Vice President and Program Chair, Vice President and Program Chair, Mr. Varghese for the welcome address and the introduction.
President of KMA, Mr. Nuran, Honorary Secretary is not there today. He's traveling, and the Joint Secretary is also traveling. Our Distinguished Speaker of the day, Mr. Varghese, Office Bearers of KMA, Managing Committee members, Past President I can see, Distinguished Past President, and of course our esteemed KMA members. Good evening to everyone. I consider it as a great honor and privilege to welcome all of you to this first LeaderInsight session for 24-25. Let me begin by expressing my gratitude to all members, especially the Managing Committee, for bestowing upon me this significant role an important role of Vice President and Program Committee Chair for 24-25. With KMA's enviable legacy of 67 years and the wonderful programs we are accustomed to do, I understand the challenge of meeting the high expectations of Mr. Nuran, our President, and our esteemed members. Our goal is to deliver high quality programs that keep your interest alive and generate excitement for each KMA meeting. President Bibu has entrusted us with a significant responsibility to organize at least one program every week, totaling to 52 plus 3 additional events, making 55 programs for the year. This includes all KMA activities from inauguration to annual review. As Program Committee Chair, I am responsible for 20 LeaderInsight sessions, a couple of book reviews, a few panel discussions, and the new Inspire series that President Bibu wants to launch this year. Inspire series will be one session every month that will aim to motivate and inspire young managers. Together, the initiatives will account for about 36 out of 55 KMA planned events. Some members have shared their thoughts on how to make our programs more engaging, including having a fixed day for KMA meetings and suggestions on topics and speakers. President Bibu prefers holding meetings on Friday evenings and with deviation only for exceptional speakers, especially on current topics based on the availability and convenience of the speakers. Ultimately, your presence is what will motivate me, other office bearers, and of course the speaker. I look forward to your continued encouragement and support to fulfill the role to the best of my ability. President Bibu announced at the inaugural event on June 3rd that this year's theme is Youth at Next Level, Empowering Young Managers. Based on this, we chose a topic that is both relevant and current to our state of Kerala. In search of a suitable speaker, I explored LinkedIn and other online platforms. Then I vividly remembered meeting a young, dynamic, and smart gentleman at last year's KMA annual convention at the Grand Hyatt. I later connected with Mr. Thomas Varghese on LinkedIn and was really impressed with his profile. And he is our speaker today. Mr. Varghese has an impressive educational background from the prestigious St. Stephen's College, New Delhi, where he was a president of the Students' Union, a honor previously held by Shashi Tharoor 50 years back. And Mr. Thomas Varghese held it in 2004. Then he pursued a master's degree in urban management and development from Erasmus University, one of Europe's oldest and famous institutions. Mr. Varghese expanded his studies in sustainability to include philosophical and religious cognitive science, which led him to Harvard University on a full scholarship. There he completed an executive program on applying behavioral insight to the design of public policy and later earned a second master's degree in comparative religion, ethics, and politics. During his time at Harvard, he lived at the Center for the Study of the World Religions, an intentional community and research center that explores the influence of religion on contemporary issues such as ecology, climate change, and social transformation. Mr. Thomas Varghese has extensive experience managing sustainability projects with the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and Pacific. He has hands-on insight into policy making, project management training, and development, advocating for multi-stakeholder and interdisciplinary approach to sustainable development. His work spans countries including Bangladesh, Cambodia, Sri Lanka, Thailand, and Vietnam. Upon his return to India in 2019, he worked in the field of water conservation and river protection through India Rivers Forum, Secretariat in Dehradun, with Dr. Ravi Chopra, Supreme Court appointed chairman of the High Power Committee to study the impact of development projects on the Himalayan ecosystem and in the rivers. He has published widely in journals and news media on topics related to green economy, waste management, water conservation, sustainable development, peace, and religious pluralism. He is also a regular invitee as a speaker, faculty member, trainer, panelist on these topics. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my proud privilege to present Mr. Thomas Varghese, Chairman of International Peace 20 Youth Summit, former United Nations official, and alumnus of St. Stephen's, Erasmus, and Harvard.
I guess after having gone through Thomas Varghese's bio, our Vice President was so enthusiastic to get him on stage immediately. Yes, we'll come to you. Good evening everyone once again, and welcome to the first meeting of this KMA year. As we all know, and as has been announced, youth empowerment is the topic or the theme for this year, and we have actually coined the term Youth at Level Next, Empowering Young Managers. So actually we are starting this year with the theme in line, with a topic in line with this theme, and we have been lucky to get an illustrious speaker for this theme. So we are trying to the idea behind the whole thing is that we are trying to have more number of youth coming into KMA, and eventually I have been telling all those kids who have come, not the kids, young managers or people who are the second line of business, second generations of business, to slowly come, and in the years to come they should slowly take over the reins of KMA. Then only KMA, Kerala Management Association, as a management, one of the best management associations in the country, would progress further. Because today, it is not like the old times. All our youth have got a lot of extra learning than what we had during our schooling or during our college days. It's thanks to the internet, thanks to their exposure in many areas. So definitely we have got a lot to learn from them rather than we teach them. So we will be starting, or we will be empowering our youth. We hope to empower our youth in a very practical way in the days to come. And just as Mr. Algis said, every last Friday of the month we plan to have something called an Inspire series, wherein somebody would give an inspirational story of their own or a motivational talk that would inspire our youngsters to come forward and empower themselves. The topic for this day is youth empowerment and migration, the real Kerala story. That's how Mr. Thomas Varghese has put it. And another big thing about Mr. Thomas Varghese is Mr. Algis said, Mr. Shashut Tharoor was an alumni of the Stephens, and he was the president. Later it was Chandi Woman who was the president at Stephens, the Students' Union president, and Mr. Thomas Varghese also happens to be another leader from Kerala at St. Stephens. So I was just telling him that perhaps he should also get into politics and become our next MP or so. Anyway, jokes apart, this particular migration actually, as personally speaking, is something close to my heart also. In a sense, I had the privilege, or what do you call it, misluck I would say, or luck, we would say, of studying abroad. But then for me, and then for a time my parents were abroad. So every time I used to take this flight from my boarding school outside India, or study there and then come back and all that. Every time it was an old Cochin airport, and every time the flight comes over Kerala and you see those swaying palm trees, it's a different feel altogether. At least for me, it was like that all those years, all my formative years. I do not know how many of those NRIs who have come and settled back here if you have the same feeling. But whichever part of the world you go to, you can say that Europe is good, US is good, Africa is good, everything is good. But then this kind of nostalgic feeling that comes back to a person, I have always felt. So that is one thing about myself. And coming to my own family, I have two sons, and I have a daughter too. But then when it came to my sons, my elder son has qualified to be a doctor, and he never wanted to go abroad for his further studies. He said, I'm just going to be here in this thing. But then my younger son, he's just completed his product design. So he, immediately after his 12th, he came to me with so many institutes from abroad and said, Appa, I want to go this place, that place. And we said, me and my wife said, nothing doing, you're not going abroad until you finish your undergraduation. And your graduation, post-graduation, we're definitely sending you. But fate has twisted in such a way that my elder son, despite trying his best to get his MD admission for the subject that he wanted, he could not get it in India. So now he is planning to go abroad, or he's preparing for his exams abroad. And the younger fellow, he studied in Mumbai for his product design. And day he came to me and said, I think now that you're finishing this, so I think it's time that you go abroad. And I think he has done his, actually from his certification and everything from this school called Parsons in New York, which is supposed to be this thing. So I said, you can go for your PG now to Parsons, you can be there in New York. Then he said, no, Appa, I want to work. So do you want to work abroad? He said, no. He said, this country offers a lot of scope for my field, and I feel I should stay back in this country. So he's already got a campus placement and he's taking it. So, I mean, that's how things twist, for children. That's just what I wanted to tell you. I really don't know what attracts many of our youth to go abroad. Perhaps it is the lifestyles that they see on TV, and many of these children have not experienced what it is to be abroad. Perhaps it is the salaries, perhaps it is so many other factors, perhaps it is the socio-economic conditions, many things like that. Again, coming to the ease of life abroad, yes, sometimes you feel life abroad is very easy, it's good. Maybe about 2-3 years back, my own experience, I went with a cousin of mine in Berlin. He was working there earlier, so after that both of us had gone there for a visit, and then he said, I have worked here for so many years, I've got I think I might get some money because I left the country abruptly, I don't know. Let's go to one of those public offices and find out. When we went there, I mean, I was surprised the office was as good as any private institution, and they looked into his computer, and then into their computers, looked into his credentials, and they said, I mean, he's got so many euros in his credit and he can take it. It was hardly maybe about half an hour work. But I live in a house, I'm from Alapi, I live in a house that is 100 years plus old, my ancestral home. And recently, after my dad expired, for a few years the tax was not paid. So I sent my manager to pay the taxes, and they said that this house is not there in the records of the Alapi municipality. So, I mean, so this is the kind of, the ease of life kind of thing you would say, sometimes you feel that, between our country and the developed nations, as we would call it. So this is a kind of, we can argue on this, whether India is better for us or for our children, or a country abroad is better for us and all that, for them and all that. But all said and for me personally, home sweet home, I would like to still stay back in my country and do something for my country, give employment to people out here. That's how I would put it. Anyway, with this I conclude, and I would, because we have a highly knowledgeable person sitting with us here. So I would request Mr. Thomas Varghese to come forward and express his views and share with us, and we can ask him questions also after that. Thank you. Once again, a warm welcome to all of you.
Respected President of KMA, Mr. Bibu Punaran, respected Vice President and Chair of the Program Committee, Mr. Algiers Khalid, distinguished KMA members, guests, students, a very warm good evening to you all. So I'm just being mindful of the time as well, because I was told that the talk is supposed to last for about half an hour, and there's a Q&A session for about 10 minutes. So it's about 6:50, so I should aim to wrap it up by 7:20, correct? And then we have about 10 minutes for Q&A. So the topic is youth empowerment and migration, the real Kerala story. And many types of Kerala stories have been told, so I just wanted to give one version today, which I think is very pertinent. So this is actually, the topic is also selected mindful of the theme of the year of KMA, which is Youth at Level Next, Empowering Young Managers. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate the managing committee and the leadership of KMA for selecting such an important topic. So we will jump straight into the presentation and some of the data I wanted to present. So this is the Kerala youth in the Indian context, which is based on the recent periodic labor force survey by the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, of the Government of India. So they say that the national average of unemployment is about 10%, and the highest, I don't know how many of you know, is the highest is now in Kerala with 28.7%. And the same survey also presented very recently the previous quarter, which is between Jan and March 2024 in urban areas, where the national average was 17%. And this is basically the unemployment figures of youth between the age of 15 and 29. So I think we need to be mindful of that. And within this national average, again, we can see that Kerala is 31.8%, which is almost double the national average. And what is surprising is even a state like Jammu and Kashmir, with all the challenges of terrorism and all of that, is only at 28.2%. I've also taken a small little bifurcation for your awareness, which is the women employment. Jammu and Kashmir stands at 48.6%, followed by Kerala at 46.6%. And male unemployment, and this is in the urban areas, not the pan-Indian situation, this is the urban areas. Male unemployment Kerala is 24.3, followed by Bihar, which is 21.2. One can also argue that the data collection and census in Kerala might be even more effective, and that is perhaps why this is high. But still, I think this is still the data published by the Government of India. So I just try to put this in context with what is happening. So one is, when we speak about youth empowerment and migration, my job is to initially set the context, right? And the context is first of what is happening in terms of employment, so the high unemployment rates. So we are looking at migration. Like the president also spoke about students going abroad, but the question is, we need to really understand why are they really going abroad, right? So this is, again, another side of the story, which is the arts and science degree students in Kerala. We have about 1 lakh who graduates every year, and graduate engineers comprise an additional about 28,000. And the number of students, and not studies, that's a typo, number of students going abroad is between now, that is at 2024, it should be anywhere between 30,000 to 40,000. In 2016, it was 18,000. In 2019, we also saw close to doubling at 30,948. And during COVID years, this has drastically dropped, because students were not able to go. And 2023 onwards, it is again back to those figures, or have slightly gone up. And most reports that I read online are saying that within the next 5 years, these numbers will go up to 1 lakh per year. This is so now with this, what we have to, something which is not come to the attention of policymakers, or the issues that happen that is surrounding this phenomena of unemployment and migration. So first is brain drain, and that actually translates into talent and human resource drain. And the human resource drain, I think, it also has one more dimension, because most parents are spending their money, resources, time and effort in raising children, but there are other countries waiting to reap the benefits. So there is also additional economic costs which are not being factored at the moment, so I just wanted to point attention to that. So migration, historically, there is nothing wrong, not only historically, even in the present. And Kerala, especially this city where we live, Kochi, has been an extremely cosmopolitan city. We've always welcomed, if we go back our history of 2,500 years, we've had Romans and Greeks and Phoenicians and Egyptians all trading here. So it's not like we are an insular community, but the difference is that there's a difference between going for opportunity and capacity building and empowerment as opposed to distress migration. There's a huge difference between that. And what we have of the students migrating is that they're not really, some of the facts which I want to present after this is that it is not because they're really going out for education, they're using it as a pathway for migration. So that is what I wanted to point to. Right, so these are the push factors, and the pull factors obviously are coming from countries like Canada and Australia, which has better standards of living or lifestyle and all of that. So another phenomena which I found is, some of the reports have been pointing to this phenomena called de-skilling. So it is qualified students who might be going, and they may also be going there, but they don't normally end up doing skill jobs because they may have to survive there, so they may end up doing jobs in restaurants or Uber and all of that. So there is a de-skilling also happening. So that is one more phenomena. Aging population, this is, I think, clear, because when the youth migrate, what we have left in Kerala is an aging population, with its challenges of governments now increased spending for old age care. There is a negative population growth, with a shrinking birth rate. And there have been many reports already about empty houses and aged parents staying behind, especially in Pathanamthitta. The reports estimate that 1.3 million houses, which is about 13 lakhs. Of course, we have about 350 lakh population, like 3.5 crores, right? So, no, 3.5 million. So, out of that, about 13 or 1.3 million houses remain vacant. And these data is presented by the Kerala Migration Survey. I've written the source there. It's presented by the Kerala Migration Survey, which is sponsored by the state, but conducted by the Gulati Institute of Finance and Taxation and the International Institute of Migration and Development. So I've taken this data from their work. And it's also somewhat perplexing and equally amusing that during the survey, and they take a sample size of 20,000, so it's not a small sample size, but even during the survey, they had to add additional 5,000 because those houses were locked up, so that's what they mentioned. So this is just to show that this is not something we speak about just locally, but also the BBC has covered this, so this is not something, just part of the local discourse here in Kerala or in India. This is a report by the BBC. If you look this up, this actually came out in March 2023, so just about a year ago. And it's called Kerala, a ghost town in world's most populated country. And I've underlined and highlighted a few points here, which sort of substantiate some of the points I've been placing in the previous slides. It says that the fertility has fallen below replacement levels, and migration has left behind ghost towns inhabited by the elderly. So this is a case of Kumbanad in Pathanamthitta, so I don't think that this is fully representative of the entire state, but then here at least we have some sense of what can happen if these trends continue. And below that paragraph, which are highlighted in green, I would just like to read that with you all. It says a 150 euro in government upper primary school, which educates students up to the age of 14 in Kumbanad, has 50 students on its roll, down from about 700 until the late 1980s. So you can see, the fall in school enrollment. Most of them are from poor and underprivileged families who live at the edge of the town, with only 7 students. Grade 7 is the largest class. In 2016, the class had only 1 student. This is reported by the BBC, and they had somebody actually flying down. It's written that the BBC, Shautik Biswas travels to Kumbanad, and this is the report that he published. So the issues again, it's not only in the BBC, it's also, featured in the budget speech by the finance minister, who said steps would be taken, but I'm sure, I'm not sure if there is a lot of clarity on what these steps are to stem migration, or really the core problem is not really migration. As I first showed you, the core problem is that there is lack of employment opportunities in the state, and the students are forced to migrate. So again, deliberating on cases of bad roads and other urban issues in February 2023, the Kerala High Court said bad infrastructure was prompting students to look for better opportunities abroad. So this I've taken from a Frontline article published again in 2024. So these are all very recent, reports. So these are not very old reports. And the article is titled "Kerala's Brain Drain: How Student Migration Impacts Society." So now that we presented the context, we also looked at some of the issues that these trends pose. We need to understand why, because only if you understand the context, the reasons, and the why can be devised, or can be, devised steps, to curb it and also, to create, a better ecosystem. So one is clearly the quality of education, but that's only one. The quality of education, one statistics which I got is that in 2023, 5,700 seats out of a total of 16,358 remain unfilled in the first year degree course in Mahatma Gandhi University, Kerala. Another problem is that the graduates who are completing universities and colleges, they're not employable, and this is also again, I think the pull factor from abroad is that the quality of education, the standards are relatively higher. So that's one aspect. The second is again the lack of employment opportunities. So we had presented this fact, already about 1 lakh graduates in arts and sciences and another 28,000 in engineering colleges. This is by the State Planning Board report. But the same report also claims that 1 lakh jobs have been created in the last 5 years, which only accounts for about 20,000 jobs. But we have a total of 1.3 lakh students graduating. So before, when I had presented the statistics about this 37% and 40%, this also only shows that about 25 to 30% are gainfully employed, here in Kerala. But again, beyond the statistics and the data collection, I'm sure a lot more might be employed, but still, this shows that there is a huge gap between the students graduating and the lack of opportunities for them to be, for their skills to be harnessed. Another issue is the low pay. Young MLA Matthew Kurunad, he had raised this issue in the Kerala Assembly, citing that fresh MBA graduates and engineering degree holders receive a meager 10,000 to 14,000 rupees a month salary, and a reasonable salary paid only to IT professionals in the state's private sector. So these are some of the issues and some of the reasons why students and the youth are migrating. This is another study which I just came across recently. I was not aware of this. This is published by the CPPR, the Center for Public Policy Research here in Kochi. It's a small sample size, so that's why I mentioned that. When compared to the Kerala migration survey, it was about 20,000 households. So this is a smaller sample size. About 104 students they had interviewed, and these are some of the things I've taken out. So they said 45% respondents claim migration extends beyond education reasons. They choose education as a pathway for migration. I think it's quite an important factor, right? So they're using that as a way to find opportunities. It's not really because they wanted to study. They are using that mechanism to move out of this place. The majority, 78% of female students chose to migrate, seeking a society that promotes inclusivity, offers a better lifestyle, and is free from social stigmas and stereotypes. That's one. But male students, there is a diversity in the gender aspirations you can see here. Whereas females say this, the male students cite lack of suitable job opportunities and a mismatch between qualifications, skills, and salary in the state. So this is clearly an issue that is coming out very strongly. The students don't feel that they can, they can first find employment even after their studies, and even when they are employed, they don't feel that they can earn a reasonable salary. So this is the problem, across the state, and there is a divergence, between the aspirations between male and female. But again, I'm not sure if I can take this as very conclusive, given only a sample size of 104. But it does give, some sense of the responses from the youth that they spoke to. So now, setting this context, because I first wanted to set the context, because why? Why did I set the context? Why did I lay out all these facts? Because KMA has very courageously taken, this theme as youth at next level, empowering young managers. I understand. So the idea is that KMA, as they look at doing that within KMA, they also need to be mindful of the larger socio-economic and political context of Kerala. That's one thing. And secondly, the deliberations, of course, when I spoke to the vice president, he told me that the leadership was also, in KMA is slightly aging, and they're making a deliberate attempt to build a new cadre of young leadership in KMA, but I would like to point that you should do that also within KMA and outside in Kerala also, So the focus should be within KMA and also, to see how this can be done for, for the pan-Kerala situation. So empowerment management programs, because this is an organization that spearheads management. So it has a lot of talent, a lot of insights, a lot of experience, tremendous amount of skill, a great talent pool. So the task that is cut out before KMA would be to see how they can best harness to address some of the issues that have been raised in the previous slides. So I have come up with a few pointers, and these could be taken up and received as ideas for how KMA could look at working on this theme for the year. Of course, the first few points are quite broad and at a macro level. So one is STEM migration by creating opportunities, employment and entrepreneurial abilities of the youth. I understand it's very broad. But what we should also look at is the potentiality for re-migration, right? There are two things. One is opportunities can saturate in host countries, but it's already happening. We have seen some reports coming from Canada, about students not being able to now even find housing, right? I think you've read these reports about that. Secondly, I think President already mentioned that there are, I myself have been abroad for studies. It is not always easy, right? And there could be a lot of them who may have tried, to create a good life for themselves. If there are, if not equally at par, but if there are reasonably good opportunities, they might like to come back, right? So we should have a vision. Of course, this is more for the governance side, but at least we should have a vision for the next 10, 15 years, how we can create an ecosystem, whereby the youth can be absorbed and their skills and talents harnessed here in the state. So the third point we'll be looking at now, what KMA can do in the broader context of migration and youth empowerment. I strongly feel that there should be a robust multi-stakeholder interaction and collaboration in creating this favorable ecosystem. And what KMA can do, which is also part of these talks, they can have regular panel discussions with stakeholders from industry, academia, government, and non-profit think tanks. Because the data that I presented is also from all these different people, but often they are not in conversation with each other. So KMA can be a platform where we can bring all of them at some time, and see how they can all start talking and see how to fix this. So they can definitely take a role as a facilitator for change, right? So that is one thing, and I'll also give you the example of like Silicon Valley, right? Silicon Valley, it is a combination of high quality research universities like Stanford and UC Berkeley. They are the ones who are driving it. What is the government doing? They're only creating a favorable ecosystem. And again, with easy access to private capital and talent pool. So why do people want to migrate there? Because there are opportunities and a good quality of life, right? So these are not something which can be done overnight, but definitely starting a conversation, starting a dialogue can create avenues for better collaboration on these areas. Another thing that can be done very directly is industry-academy collaboration. I think this is extremely important. So create a dialogue between industry and academy to bridge the gap between education, skills, and employment. Colleges, they're churning out degrees without really knowing, what are the needs of the industries and the companies, right? So everybody is actually working hard, but towards what, right? So we need to bring these people into shared goals, right? So there can be a greater interaction between the industry and academy. And I think something like management workshops and summits across schools and colleges can also help, because by doing that, KMA and representatives of KMA will also have a chance to hear them out, And when students and faculty are participating, that can also create a fertile ground, for greater collaboration and idea generation also. They can also be like a panel or a talent pool of speakers also representing KMA who can give information and motivation talks to students, in schools and colleges. I was thinking as another idea. So this one is by industry focus. We're not only focusing on IT, which do absorb the youth, but other industries based on the socio-economic and environmental context of Kerala, which are which are not performing well can also be looked into. And I've just written down a few, One is the agro-based and the value addition, like health and wellness, education, tourism and hospitality, art and culture, for example, the Kochi Binale. There are so many opportunities here. We are well endowed with natural resources. We are well endowed with tremendous human resource capacity. Our HDI is one of the best in the country. So we have all of that, but somehow we're not able to put all of this together to transform the socio-economic landscape of the state. Short-term management programs across sectors can be another idea, not like 3 to 4 year degree programs, but simple short-term programs can also be helpful, not only for the private, but also for public governance and civil society organizations, because like management programs, even catering to local government officials can also really help, I feel, and I think that is also an area that KMA's managerial expertise from the private sector can also build the capacities of our civil society, workers and our government staff as well. So conducting such small management programs in cooperation all through MOUs, with business schools or management institutions, where KMA can again, sort of lead that, can fill that gap. So all of these opportunities and pointers should be mindful, because I work in the field of sustainable development. So this should all be done by being mindful of the discourse on sustainable development, integrating economic development with people's and planetary well-being. So that's really important. This is just an example, because I just wanted to show you that these kind of summits and workshops are possible. I was chair of the International Peace 20 Youth Summit, and we held that in Kochi last year. This started off when Indonesia was chairing the presidency of G20 in 2022. And the chair of the International Peace 20 Youth Summit in Bali, the chair was the Prince of Bali. And we held this last year. So this is something we did here. We had 800 youth coming in. We held this at the JT Pack last year on August 11th and 12th. And some of the data is already there, so 11th and 12th. The vision was world peace through sustainable development. 800 youth attended in person and about 3,000 attended online. We had five thematic panel discussions covering academia, business entities, civil society organizations, one on livelihoods and one on gender equity, all for localizing the SDGs. So this is what we had done, and this was on 12th August, which is the UN's International Day of Youth, and it was all held free of cost. There was no money charged. We had some generous donors. We had the Sintai group who gave us some money, and we had the Choice group who did not levy any fee for this, for the Performing Arts Center, and we had BKV's caterers who also provided the food, for 2 days for all the students. So that is how we gave it free of cost, because if we did this and if we had charged, the students, then it's doubtful if they can come, so this is, and we already had many people, being flown in, we had some UN officials coming in from Malaysia and New York. So there were a few costs, but they also paid for their own flights, because it was for a noble cause. So I think there are people who are willing to come in and contribute and help, if the cost is well-intentioned and noble enough. I'll just show you some more. Next slide. Yeah, just before, just one slide before. Yeah. Yeah, just some more images, of the summit. You can see below, the JT Pack, I think it accommodates about 620 people. So I said 800 because in addition to that main, the Performing Arts Center, there's also an adjacent room where we put up a screen, so that's how we got about 800 people, sitting there, and that's some of the images you can see. And this was just last year, like 10 months back actually. We also had some people, giving addresses from the UN office in New York. That is the head of the UN Academic Impact, like how the UN wants to work with colleges and universities to enhance sustainable development goals. So we got into, to address the students who had gathered there. And those, on the left side, you can see the panel discussion. That was a panel discussion. The moderator was the executive director of the UN Global Compact from Delhi. So how businesses can align themselves with sustainable development goals. So this is something we did. So I think the KMA can do similar summits and management festivals, to work towards these these aspirations of the youth, and try to make it. Of course, they won't be immediate tangible change, but these things will have a snowball effect. That's I think something we can. Like something I wanted to show, to see that this is not just all talk, but there's also some level of, hard work required to get these things done, because when we had 800 youth last year, we had a representation from at least 30 education institutions across Kerala, and it was, like I would like to also share that when we had that panel on education institutions and the promotion of sustainable development goals, we mostly had private schools, but there was one government school which came in from near Pormudi in Trivandrum, and their presentation was the best. That's when we realized that, that is not only private schools who have the capacity to present and articulate themselves. Some students from very far-flung and rural tribal areas of Kerala can also, do a very, very good job. So it was really very, very revelatory for us. So this is just to say that the UN has its International Youth Day on 12th August, whose main objective is engagement and participation of the youth for sustainable human development. 12th August 2024, if KMA can do something on that day, it's good. But I thought, just to say that since the theme is also youth at next level, empowering young managers, there's something. Either in some of these schools or some partners of KMA, if you can do something, on that day, we can also have the tradition continuing. Like also against the larger backdrop of what is happening, with the youth in Kerala. I think it's time. It's about 7:17, so pretty okay. Yeah. So this is the presentation. Thank you. Thank you for your attention. Regarding questions, I'm not really an expert on this, but this is basically with my experience with the youth. It only started last year, by being the chair, of the summit. But if there are very, very deep and specific questions regarding to data, then I can only point you to the sources, and then we have to maybe look at that.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas Varghese. Now the floor is open for questions, please.
Good evening. A good round of applause to our speaker today. He has done an extensive job with numbers, so we're happy to have you here. My name is Pratap Nair. I'm a KMA member. Plus, I also work for UN as an international consultant. My question to you is regarding re-migration. Have you ever come across an instance, maybe part of the world, wherever you worked, Southeast Asia, which I've heard, where re-migration has happened, and what was the pattern like, or did the government do something on that, which can be a model? Because whenever we do something, we look for a model which has happened somewhere. So anything on re-migration you have come across, that will be a good to start with for us. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the question. While I was doing this research, a couple of reports have cited China as an example now. Right? I haven't really studied about how they created that environment, but China has been cited. One can only guess, because I would really have to look at the data on what they exactly did to facilitate re-migration. But there is clear political will, that is for sure, and they're very quick with their decision making, right? So the political will is clearly, I think, a very important factor, because whatever they want, they get it done immediately. But definitely, like while I was doing this, I was looking at countries, and I think China, is one of those cases, which has worked out a very good re-migration plan right now in the world. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Congratulations on the excellent presentation. This is more a suggestion rather than a question. this room full of people, apart from those of us who are sitting here, the entire cabinet of Kerala ministry should have been sitting here and listening to you. One. Second, there is not a single press reporter who would report on the important findings that you have summarized here. Now, KMA has launched on a very exciting program for youth throughout this year. But all that is likely to happen within the four walls of this room. So my humble suggestion is there should be a KMA youth YouTube channel with different verticals. One vertical, data on migration. One vertical on data on remigration. 3, a vertical on employment opportunities. 4, for leaders like you who have accomplished all things in life to come back from US and other big countries here and start large organizations where these people can get higher salaries, higher opportunities. And the next vertical should be that some of the outdated courses in our universities must be revamped so that upon graduation they should be immediately employable. One of the big reasons for students for migrating is after a guy does BA in history, what job can he expect and how much salary can he expect? What can he bring with BA history to the workplace? So this question should be asked of people who are responsible for this syllabus making, and maybe a couple of other verticals. This I just thought on my feet while we were doing your presentation. This is an eye-opener, but all the programs that are coming here, there should be a YouTube channel which will be popular not only in Kerala, the whole of country, and they will have latest data, latest information, latest input from people like you, and that can change the scenario of the negative scenarios which is shown in the first couple of slides. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Matthew. It was very interesting, very impressive presentations you have done. Couple of questions. You have some programs coming up. Yeah. You mentioned that about some 12,000 people coming.
It's over. Yeah, that is going to happen this year.
Do you have similar programs coming up here?
We haven't planned another summit here because this year, since the G20 presidency is moving to Brazil, they're going to have a similar summit there. Just like how it happened in Indonesia 2 years back and then in India. But the learning of these summits can also move into more smaller summits here.
Okay.
So I was suggesting that KMA can also maybe help in hosting.
Okay, that's our leaders will take it forward. Thank you very much.
I'm Professor Jain from Indian Maritime University. You just mentioned about the Kumbhanad place. Earlier I heard that compared to any other place in the world, they have excellent banking facilities. Almost all branches are there. That is one of the important reasons for their adequate economic provision for to start anything. That is very important. Second thing, I recently just heard about that. There are some couples, that is old couples, they may be alive or after sometimes unclaimed settlement of payments. That is also another important issues. That is where it is actually gone. It is going to the bank, that kind of things are happening because their sons, daughters migrated and they are not bothered about what is happening here.
Yeah, this is a situation here in Kerala, and that is one representative sample here in Kumbhanad.
Good evening. I'm C. Joseph Chacko. I'm not here to ask any questions to my old friend Thomas Varghese. See, Thomas and his elder brother Kuriakos are known to me for quite some time. And they are wonderful people. Kuriakos is a legal luminary in Delhi Supreme Court. And I now stand before you to tell you that the members of the KMA will be failing in their duty unless we appreciate and recognize the proud father of Thomas Varghese in our midst, Mr. V.K. Varghese, who had the vision to bring these two sons and bring up in and educate them in good colleges and institutions in India and abroad, so that they are in very high leadership positions in India. So congratulations, Mr. Varghese, and I appreciate whatever you have done to bring these two brilliant sons. Thank you. Three. Yes, I know only two, so he has got another one. He is in New York. Okay. All the best. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, my name is Arjun. I just wanted your suggestion on something. When we are talking about, in the context of remigration, where do you think our state is in that terms? Are we established enough to, be prepared for remigration? If not, where do we start from? Do we start at the bureaucratic level, or do we start at the institutional level, that is your educational institution, or do we start at the societal unit level, meaning families?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think that we, as a state, I don't think we have a plan. From whatever I've been reading, I've been just reading about remigration from other reports, like not as a component of the narrative, that is being promoted by the Kerala government right now. So I don't think the government really has a very solid plan. If at all they have a plan, it's not being covered quite extensively by the media, because I'm not working directly with the government, so I cannot say that they don't have a plan also, right? But then through their public relation network, I haven't come across any solid plan right now. But as I said, I gave some examples of success stories of attracting talent pool, right? So what is required, and I gave you a diverse, let's say, a diverse guidance framework, right? Because I said that the finance minister has mentioned this issue in the budget speech, which shows that it is a matter of concern. Secondly, I mentioned that the Kerala High Court has also, mentioned it, and they have attributed this to poor quality infrastructure, right? And then we spoke about lack of employment opportunities, and it's not only employment but also the entrepreneurial capacities of our youth, right? So it is not because these youngsters are not successful or they're not smart enough. It's just that's why I also brought in this example of Silicon Valley, where I showed you that all these different stakeholders have come together with one mind, and that has to happen. Because I honestly don't feel that the private sector alone can make this change. Everybody needs to work together. They will definitely have to work together. This is why I also suggest that you need to have more panel discussions. The panel discussions will also build in networking, between the speakers, right? So if nobody is doing this, maybe somebody is doing it, but I'm not sure if anybody is doing this. But if nobody is doing it, then this is a huge opportunity, for KMA to start these dialogues, to start these discussions. It can definitely have a concept note, it can have a program agenda, it can have outcome documents. It should definitely have outcome documents which should be sent to all the participants. And then KMA can be like a conversation partner, right? Because they also have access to so much of talent. And they're also representing the private sector, And that's why I said, in addition to that, they can also have short-term management programs. Not only for the private sector, of course there are B schools for that, but also for governance officials. I specifically mentioned the local administration, because the higher up, they are maybe IAS officers and they are pretty well qualified. But local government, like panchayats, these are the places where real work happens. But how many management programs do they have? There is something called KILA here in Thrissur, I'm aware of that. There's a Kerala Institute for Local Administration, right? But again, KMA can actually channel their best practices to those places also, right? Because always cutting edge management expertise is coming out in the private sector. But how much of that expertise is informing the public sector and the civil society organizations? And civil society space, I think, is really shrunk here. Simply because one is that kind of thinking. I think it's mostly through the political parties, right? Like civil society organizations, now I mentioned a small little study by CPPR, but I think there can be at least 20 to 30 organizations like that for a city like this, right? So we have very little organizations like this publishing data about these matters also. I looked at the Kerala Migration Survey, for example, like some from the CPPR. So all these organizations, basically, managerial expertise also means that how they can do their fundraising programs also, right? How they can write to donors, how they can, have a robust research, framework, for collecting data, how they can publish reports about this. So everything will have to go in an integrated and holistic manner, right? So it's not only one private company that can make the change. And I think everybody can work in their independent spaces, but they have to come together in platforms such as these to share their experiences. And that's why I think KMA can play a role of leadership here, to make that change. Yeah.
Hi, thank you for the insightful presentation. That was very well built. My name is Naveen, and I run a management consulting firm. So I just wanted to bring two aspects. You cited very well on the unemployment part, but as a consultant, when we work with multiple companies, we also see another problem of employability. So while there are a lot of people who are unemployed, there are a lot of positions vacant, waiting to be filled by good resources. So I think that's a major gap which I think organization like KMA could do something about. That's one. Another perennial problem which I have experienced working as a manager and working as today as an entrepreneur also is that we have to also accept the fact that geographically Kerala is placed today in one corner of the country. So as a manager, say even if you're working in a big firm, say anything like a TCS or IBM or any other major firms, beyond a certain level, you are forced to move out because of the geography as well as the revenue management and so many other things which are, important from a business standpoint. So, should there be something like a interaction between the states from Kerala and have, some kind of framework done, maybe, some kind of Kerala Management Association and the IMA can probably coordinate or be a body for this, so that, that kind of traction can be there between the states, so that, these kind of migrations within the states also can be managed. I think from a geographical perspective, that's very important for us, because we are in one corner, even if you have to manufacture also, we cannot be headquartered here. So that's a big challenge which we have seen. So these 2 points I just wanted to bring onto the attention of KMA, so that in case if there is something which we can do about it, it will be good. And the third part is the implementation of this academic part. How can we solve the unemployability part and the employability part? So employability part, I think one of the major things which is missing today is also the soft skills. So of course the hard skills are required, but what we see missing today most in the youth, why we cannot onboard them, is the soft skills part. And I don't see many organizations where the soft skills are imparted in the right way. For example, people come over and they are not able to even write one single email. So that kind of challenges are there.
I think quite a lot of programs are coming one after another for whatever you are saying. I think the president will announce it, so you will know what it is.
Thank you. I just wanted to bring to the attention that
KMA has been regularly having campus to corporate programs, which is on soft skill, which is on employability, which is on all these things. He will explain to you that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next, I think Adverl. The last question, I think. Yeah. after the two questions, last two questions.
Thank you for that wonderful presentation. Just I'd like to add two observations. I think what you said rightly is the organization or the administration, as I would say, failed, because I recall way back in '79 when we set up, when Prime Minister Morarji Desai came and inaugurated the export processing zone here. That's the same time I found Shanghai had also set up a export processing zone. Where is Shanghai reached? Where is Cochin today? And similarly, we had the first IT park in India in Trivandrum, if I recall correctly. But more than 25 to 30% of children working, whether it's in Bangalore or Hyderabad or other such places, are all from Kerala. So because we have actually not created opportunities, and another thing, while we're talking about high-end skill, even the, I would say, the medium or low-end skills, or for whatever reason, maybe they find it a little demeaning or whatever, they are unwilling to take up a job here. You just take a flight, you will find in the lounge in Cochin is manned by people from outside the state. You go to Bombay or Bangalore, you can hear Malayalam being spoken by the same level of worker, but they won't do that here. So this is another issue which you probably have to create an awareness among people. Thank you.
I have two observations.
Well, I have only one suggestion. See, we probably next few months, somebody similar will come and talk more or less on the same lines that you speak. And we all say, oh, it's a terrible problem, terrible problem. But the proactive thing is, we know it's a terrible problem. What can we do about it? That should be the challenge. And it's just not KMA could probably be the leading sphere to solve this problem. You might need management associations, the management schools, corporates, and various other people to put together, including, as Professor said, get the team of ministers from there and part of the trade union fellows also, who create and chased out a lot of people. Sit together. This is 2024. What was prevailing in 1947 is not the right answer for us now. We need to think differently. And secondly, you see, we should also know of several new courses coming in, where people can look at it, and some of them could be work from home also, so that you also try and create opportunities for them. But the more important thing is, if you can pick it off, look, this is a management problem, this is a very severe problem as far as Kerala is concerned. Let's do something about it. And in 2 years' time, even if we make a 5% improvement in this, that's a remarkable change. And then the next year it may be 20% changes. So, challenge is on you.
Yeah, definitely it's a very big challenge. I just don't want to end it with a negative tone. I just want to tell you that in the month of July, you will have the positive sides of all these things coming up. We will have on, I think, the second Friday in July, we will have Kerala as a global healthcare center. We will have, in 26th of July, we will have Kerala as a R&D hub, powerhouse, which is talking about AVGC as animation, video, gaming and comic and extended reality, where Kerala has 50% market share. So all these things are also coming. So we will start with the negative note and we will go to the positive. Please be here with us, come in large numbers so that we can engage with it. So it's not all dark and cloudy. There are good sides we will see in the days ahead. I think that's...
Just two observations, which will be beneficial for KMA. One is, there is an entity called International Organization for Migration, which is coming under the United Nations. Now, if we keep working on migration for quite some time, maybe a year or two, then there is a position called consultative status, an organization of consultative status. KMA can be an organization of consultative status of the United Nations. But that would happen over a period of time, doesn't happen overnight. We'll have to work for 2 or 3 days' time. I'm sure Thomas knows, I'm also aware about that because I'm actually part of the system. That is one. Second thing is, KMA can be a finishing school. I'm sure you must have thought about that. KMA can be a finishing school.
I think it's a regular activity every year.
Yeah, just one more thing. So there is something called NSDC, National Skill Development Council. I mean, national, yeah. So there is, within NSDC, there is something called Management Council. We can actually have an MOU with them, and we can give certificates, stamped by NSDC, by the Government of India, which can give more credibility to us, and actually we'll have more people coming in to have.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll take note of it. We'll do not.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. I think it is now time to conclude. I would say, like today, both our secretary and joint secretary are traveling. That's the reason why I'm here to make a concluding remarks. But then I think it is again another blessing in disguise, because I could answer many of your questions, especially since we are discussing on the theme that we have set for the year, the tone that we have set for the year is the youth empowerment. Actually, when we said about youth empowerment, we also thought about the initiative that we would be putting in, and that particular initiative is termed as the Young Minds Initiative. So the Young Minds Initiative, please bear in mind that all of you sitting here, including our past president Joseph, is also having a young mind. So the Young Minds Initiative, is just to see that people like us, or people perhaps much older than me also sitting in this room, are young at heart, and you can take the initiative to guide. Now see, we have seen two people from the UN, Mr. Thomas Varghese. We need your support for taking these initiatives forward. And the basic reason why me as president, why I thought about this is also about this theme of empowering the youth is few reasons. One, of course, like we said, this migration, remigration, and all that we just talked about. But then we had this our city police commissioner coming here and speaking to us about drugs and things like that, which is rampant among the youth in this state. So, which we don't know. We do not know whether it is happening in our own homes. So, this is something that we have to tackle, because there are today, we are talking about unemployment, we are talking about underemployment, or people with qualifications who have not got any the right job and all that. But then on the other side, there are also kids who are starting with a salary of maybe 70,000 or a lakh and all that a month, and then they don't know what to do about that. Now, this particular thing that struck our minds was, in Cochin itself, in the IT sector, we have about 70,000 people working in the Infopark. And there are so many, I see you here. You talk about remigration. I see Arjun sitting there. I know his dad very well, and he's a good friend of mine. See, in a way, they have all remigrated, because what Sir just introduced Mr. VK Varghese, but how many of you know that he is running the most successful catering company in this state, VKV's Caterers, of which I'm sure everyone sitting in the room has one way or another taken the food, the tasty food from VKV's. So thank you very much, and thank you also for having come back despite all the qualifications that they have. They keep in touch with touch base, and they are also trying to take over the businesses in the long run. So that's also there. So this remigration per se is possible, will come, will happen slowly, but maybe in smaller numbers. And another major thing that I have noted is these kids who want to migrate. You rightfully said, your statistics is absolutely right. The people who want to go abroad, they're not coming there for a qualification. They're not going there for a qualification. They're going there just to migrate. Countries like Canada and this and that and all that. So actually, I've got a partnership with a firm that is into global education. So I know that for sure, the people who really want to go get out from this state are people from the lowest stratas of society. So that's what I have felt, because they somehow want to get, and they don't qualify for these loans and things like that, and but somehow they want to get out of the place. That all this being there, we have felt, and sir, so yeah, you said about this YouTube. Please understand that KMA also, everything, even what I'm speaking right now is there on the YouTube tomorrow morning or tonight in KMA. You can go through it, but then it's not specifically for the youth, but we can think about that too. You know, all these youth initiatives, we can put it out there and see. And then many of the things that all of you spoke about, the industry interaction, and then how to create new jobs, and all these things are happening in one way or the other in KMA. But one thing that I have felt, that KMA is not actually legally heard, or by the, our voice is not heard outside. So like you said, we can probably, have, we can tell the government also, kindly hear us. And then another thing is, I wish, I don't know how many of you were there for the last KMA convention in this room. I'm sure you were there. I don't know how many of you were there. But then, I wish Mr. C. Balagopal was here, because he's a great proponent of Kerala as an investment hub and, a great place to live in and all that. We have one of the highest HDIs. So he could tell us more. And we have so many successful companies in this state. Although we say that, the ecosystem over here is not right and all that, there are so many successful companies in the state, and, people doing extremely well who are exporting to the world. So many countries. So I mean, I don't want to name all of them, but then, I think he's also written a book called Below the Radar. I think we should all read that book, then we'll understand more about our state. But anyway, we will try to make the KMA voice also heard in the public domain with all this, like, creating of jobs. Then Kerala as a research hub. Sir, I heard you speaking. I was there in the Cochin chamber when you spoke about this particular topic, this research hub. Although it didn't come from you this time, but at Kerala as a research hub, yeah, there's a lot of scope for that. Then healthcare, definitely Kerala. I also belong to the healthcare ecosystem, so there's a lot of scope for Kerala as a healthcare ecosystem, destination. That's all there. Anyway, all things taken together, we will try to do it, and this is exactly what we are trying to do. And then it's all not, just speeches alone. Like you said, it's not going to be within these 4 walls. I can assure you that. This initiative that we just said is not going to be within these 4 walls of KMA. We want to take it outside. We want to empower our youth, in very different manners. We are even dreaming about a youth fest, where they can exhibit their talents and, then come in and things like this. So we have basic plans ready for all this, but let's hope that it all works, because everything, if I just say everything, I would be dreaming too big. But then it's just our hope that we're going to be, we can change. If we can light a candle and change the lives of maybe about 100 children in this state, it's good for us, it's good for KMA, it's good for the state. That's how, at least as the president of KMA today, I look at it. Thank you very much, Thomas, for enlightening us, and it was a beautiful talk. And before we end, I would request, kindly come forward, and as a token of our appreciation, kindly accept this from us. And okay, this is another initiative that we have. This is, we have 3 kids from the Saharodaya Institute of Management Studies who have done their, this is again youth empowerment, you could say, who have done their project with us at KMA, and I would like to hand over the certificates to them. I would request Mr. Calvin Joy to come forward, please. Miss Anita Thomas. and Mr. Srihari VS. I'm really happy that we could at least exhibit this today in front of all of you, because this is another youth initiative that we have, empowering our kids. So with this, I hope we've had and I'm sure that we've had a lively evening today. So thank you all for coming. This is the first program. Actually, all those sitting in this room have actually created a small kind of history, because being the first program for KMA this year. Thank you all for taking time of coming here and enlightening me. Thank you. Good night. Please rise for the national anthem.
जय गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जय गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे।
ഏത് ബോഡി